There are connections that arrive quietly, yet they shake the soul more deeply than anything that came before. Sometimes the most confusing relationships are the ones that carry the greatest spiritual significance. When someone who usually keeps walls around their heart suddenly experiences genuine love, it can seem almost impossible to understand. Why would God allow a person who fears closeness, avoids vulnerability, and struggles with emotional intimacy to experience such a powerful connection? The answer may be far deeper than romance itself. Love is one of the greatest tools God uses to reveal hidden wounds, awaken dormant truths, and guide people toward growth they could never achieve alone. Today we'll explore 6 spiritual reasons why God may allow an avoidant person to feel authentic love, and what that experience is meant to teach both hearts involved in the journey. There are moments in life when a connection enters quietly, without warning, and begins to touch places within the heart that have remained untouched for years. For someone who has spent much of their life protecting themselves emotionally, this experience can feel both beautiful and unsettling at the same time. Authentic love has a way of reaching beyond the surface. It doesn't stop at the image people present to the world. It moves deeper, uncovering emotions, fears, and memories that have long been hidden behind carefully constructed walls. Many people learn early in life that vulnerability comes with risks. Disappointment, rejection, betrayal, or emotional neglect can teach a person to rely only on themselves. Over time, emotional distance becomes a form of protection. It feels safer not to need anyone too much. It feels easier to maintain control than to risk getting hurt. These protective habits can become so deeply rooted that they start to feel like a natural part of who a person is. But authentic love has a remarkable ability to challenge those defenses. When a genuine connection appears, emotions that have been buried for years often begin to rise to the surface. Feelings that were once ignored become impossible to overlook. Questions that were never asked suddenly demand answers. The heart starts recognizing needs it had learned to deny. What once seemed comfortable no longer feels satisfying. This is often where confusion begins. The very emotions that make a connection meaningful can also trigger fear. A person may feel drawn toward closeness while simultaneously feeling the urge to pull away. They may deeply value the relationship, yet struggle to understand why it feels so overwhelming. This internal conflict is not necessarily a sign that something is wrong. Instead, it can be evidence that something important is being revealed. God often works through revelation before transformation. Before healing can occur, hidden wounds must be brought into the light. Before growth can happen, the barriers standing in the way must become visible. Authentic love serves as a mirror, reflecting parts of the soul that may have remained unseen for years. It exposes fears of abandonment, struggles with trust, and beliefs formed during painful experiences. The purpose of this revelation is not condemnation. It is invitation. An invitation to look honestly at what has been hidden. An invitation to confront fears that have quietly shaped decisions and relationships. An invitation to move beyond survival and toward genuine connection. Sometimes the greatest spiritual breakthrough begins when a person realizes that the walls built for protection have also become barriers to love, and through the presence of authentic love, what was once hidden can finally be seen, understood, and ultimately healed. One of the most powerful things about authentic love is that it often reveals truths a person has managed to avoid for years. Many people move through life without fully understanding themselves because they rarely encounter situations that challenge their emotional habits. It is easy to believe everything is fine when there is no reason to examine what lies beneath the surface. But when a deep and meaningful connection enters someone's life, it creates a reflection that cannot easily be ignored. A genuine bond has a way of showing people who they are, not who they pretend to be. It highlights strengths, weaknesses, fears, desires, and patterns that may have gone unnoticed for a long time. For someone who is accustomed to maintaining emotional distance, this can be an incredibly uncomfortable experience. The connection begins to expose reactions that once seemed normal, pulling away when emotions become intense, avoiding difficult conversations, or struggling to trust another person suddenly become impossible to overlook. This is often where spiritual growth begins. Growth rarely starts when everything feels comfortable and predictable. It usually starts when a person is confronted with aspects of themselves that need attention. Love creates that confrontation in a way few other experiences can. It asks questions that demand honest answers. Why is closeness frightening? Why does trust feel risky? Why does vulnerability seem dangerous even when there is no immediate threat? These questions are not meant to produce shame. They are meant to produce awareness. Many emotional patterns develop for understandable reasons. They often originate from past experiences, disappointments, or moments when trust was broken. Over time, those experiences shape the way a person approaches relationships and connection. Yet patterns that once served as protection can eventually become obstacles to the life and relationships a person truly desires. Authentic love shines a light on those obstacles. It reveals where fear has taken the place of faith, where self-protection has replaced openness, and where old wounds continue to influence present decisions. This process can feel unsettling because it requires honesty. It asks a person to stop blaming circumstances and begin examining what is happening within their own heart. God often uses these moments as opportunities for transformation. Rather than allowing someone to remain trapped in old patterns, love creates an environment where change becomes possible. The connection itself becomes a catalyst for self-discovery. Through the challenges, emotions, and questions that arise, a person gains a clearer understanding of who they are and who they are becoming. The beauty of this process is that spiritual growth is not about achieving perfection. It is about becoming more aware, more honest, and more willing to grow. When authentic love acts as a mirror, it offers the chance to see the truth with clarity. And once that truth is seen, the journey toward healing, maturity, and deeper connection can finally begin. For many people, vulnerability is one of the most difficult things to embrace. It requires opening the heart without any guarantee of what will happen next. It means allowing another person to see emotions, fears, hopes, and insecurities that are usually kept hidden. While vulnerability is often associated with weakness, true vulnerability is actually an act of tremendous courage. It takes strength to lower emotional defenses and trust someone with parts of yourself that have been carefully protected for years. This lesson becomes especially significant when authentic love enters the picture. Love naturally invites closeness, honesty, and emotional openness. It encourages conversations that go beyond the surface and creates opportunities for deeper understanding. For someone who is accustomed to keeping people at a safe distance, this experience can feel both attractive and frightening. Part of the heart desires connection, while another part fears the risks that come with it. The fear often comes from past experiences. Perhaps trust was broken before. Perhaps emotional openness led to disappointment, rejection, or pain. Over time, these experiences can create the belief that vulnerability is dangerous. A person may convince themselves that staying guarded is the safest option. If no one gets too close, then no one can cause significant hurt. While this mindset may offer temporary protection, it also limits the possibility of experiencing genuine intimacy and connection. Authentic love challenges these beliefs in a profound way. It creates situations where emotional honesty becomes necessary. Feelings can no longer be hidden as easily. The desire for connection becomes stronger than the comfort of isolation. Suddenly, a person finds themselves facing a choice: continue relying on old defenses or take the risk of opening their heart. This is often where spiritual growth takes place. God does not call people toward vulnerability because it is easy. The invitation exists because vulnerability is essential for meaningful relationships and personal transformation. Without it, trust cannot deepen, understanding cannot flourish, love cannot reach its full potential. Learning vulnerability does not mean abandoning wisdom or ignoring boundaries. It does not mean sharing everything with everyone. Instead, it means developing the courage to be genuine. It means allowing emotions to be expressed honestly rather than hidden behind fear. It means accepting that while vulnerability involves risk, it also creates the possibility for healing, acceptance, and deeper connection. Through authentic love, many people begin to discover that openness does not always lead to pain. Sometimes it leads to being understood. Sometimes it leads to compassion. Sometimes it reveals that the fears carried for so long no longer need to control the future. In this way, love becomes a teacher. It gently shows that strength is not found in building higher walls. True strength is found in having the courage to let those walls come down when the right connection arrives. And through that courage, the heart learns that vulnerability is not the enemy of love. It is one of the pathways through which love grows and thrives. One of the most surprising things about authentic love is its ability to awaken areas of the heart that have remained asleep for years. Many people learn to live with emotional wounds without ever truly addressing them. They adapt, develop coping mechanisms, and continue moving forward. On the surface, life may appear stable and successful, yet beneath that stability, unresolved pain often remains hidden, quietly influencing thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. For a long time, these wounds can go unnoticed because nothing challenges them deeply enough. A person may become comfortable with emotional distance, believing they no longer need the kind of closeness that once seemed important. Independence becomes a source of security. Self-reliance feels safer than trust. Over time, emotional barriers become so familiar that they seem permanent. Then authentic love enters the picture. Suddenly, something begins to change. The heart that once felt comfortable staying guarded starts longing for connection. Emotional distance no longer provides the same sense of peace it once did. The presence of genuine love awakens desires that had been buried beneath years of protection. A person may find themselves wanting deeper conversations, greater emotional intimacy, and a level of closeness they previously avoided. At the same time, this awakening can create significant discomfort. The very feelings that bring joy can also expose pain. Old fears begin to surface. Memories of past disappointments return. Insecurities that seemed forgotten suddenly feel alive again. The desire for connection starts competing with the fear of vulnerability. This internal struggle is often misunderstood. Many people assume that discomfort means something is wrong. In reality, discomfort can be a sign that something important is happening. When hidden wounds are exposed, they naturally create tension. Healing rarely begins in complete comfort. It often begins when a person becomes aware of pain that can no longer be ignored. God frequently works through this process of awakening. Rather than allowing old wounds to remain buried indefinitely, authentic love brings them into the light, not to cause suffering, but to create an opportunity for restoration. What has been hidden for years finally receives attention. The heart begins recognizing areas that need healing rather than simply managing them through avoidance. This awakening also creates a powerful choice. A person can retreat back into familiar patterns, rebuilding emotional walls and suppressing uncomfortable feelings. Or they can move forward, allowing the process of growth and healing to continue. While the second path may feel uncertain, it is often the path that leads to lasting transformation. Authentic love does more than create emotional connection. It reveals what the soul has been carrying. It exposes fears that need understanding, wounds that need healing, and beliefs that need renewal. Through this process, the heart begins to realize that healing is not about pretending pain never existed. It is about allowing that pain to be transformed into wisdom, strength, and a deeper capacity to love. Sometimes the discomfort that accompanies authentic love is not a sign to run away. Sometimes it is an invitation to heal in ways that were never possible before. For many people, control feels like safety. When life has been unpredictable, disappointing, or emotionally painful, the desire to stay in control can become a powerful instinct. Controlling emotions, controlling expectations, and controlling how much access others have to the heart can seem like effective ways to avoid future hurt. Over time, this need for control often becomes so natural that it is rarely questioned. It simply becomes the way a person navigates relationships and protects themselves from vulnerability. Yet authentic love has a unique way of challenging this mindset. Love is not something that can be completely controlled, measured, or managed. It introduces uncertainty into even the most carefully structured emotional world. No matter how much someone tries to maintain distance or protect themselves from risk, genuine feelings have a way of breaking through those defenses. The heart begins to care, to hope, and to desire connection in ways that cannot always be regulated by logic alone. This can be deeply unsettling. A person who is used to feeling in control may suddenly find themselves facing emotions they cannot easily dismiss. They may want answers where there are none. They may seek certainty about the future, reassurance about every outcome, or guarantees that they will never experience pain. But love rarely offers such guarantees. Instead, it asks for trust. That is why authentic love often becomes a spiritual lesson. It reveals the limits of control and the importance of faith. Many people spend years believing that if they can manage every situation perfectly, they can protect themselves from disappointment. Yet no amount of control can eliminate all risk from human relationships. The attempt to avoid pain entirely often results in avoiding the very experiences that bring joy, growth, and connection. God may allow this realization to unfold because true connection requires something greater than control. It requires openness. It requires trust. It requires the willingness to accept that not every outcome can be predicted or managed. This does not mean becoming careless or abandoning wisdom. It means recognizing that meaningful relationships involve an element of surrender. Surrender, in this sense, is not weakness. It is the decision to stop allowing fear to dictate every choice. It is the willingness to be present in a relationship without constantly trying to control where it is going or how it will end. It is choosing connection over self-protection, even when certainty is unavailable. Through authentic love, many people begin to understand that control can provide the illusion of safety, but it cannot provide the fulfillment that comes from genuine emotional connection. The walls built to prevent pain can also prevent intimacy. The strategies designed to avoid disappointment can also limit the experience of love. As this lesson unfolds, the heart starts learning a deeper truth. Peace does not come from controlling every circumstance. Real peace comes from trusting that even in uncertainty, growth is possible, healing is possible, and love is worth the risk. In that realization, a person begins moving from fear-driven control toward a more open and courageous way of living and loving. One of the most important truths about authentic love is that its purpose is not always limited to the relationship itself. People often assume that the value of a connection is determined by how long it lasts or whether it leads to a specific outcome. However, some of the most significant relationships enter a person's life to accomplish something much deeper. Their purpose extends beyond romance, companionship, or even permanence. They arrive to create change, awaken growth, and leave lasting lessons that continue shaping a person long after the experience has unfolded. When authentic love touches a heart that has spent years protecting itself, something profound begins to happen. New emotions emerge, new perspectives develop. Old beliefs that once seemed unshakable begin to lose their influence. A person who once believed emotional distance was the safest way to live may start discovering the value of connection. Someone who once feared vulnerability may begin understanding the strength required to open their heart. These changes do not happen by accident. They often become part of a larger journey of personal and spiritual transformation. Many relationships act as catalysts. A catalyst does not create change by force. It creates the conditions for change to occur. Authentic love often serves this role. It introduces experiences that challenge old patterns and encourage growth. It teaches lessons that could not have been learned through isolation. It reveals strengths that remained hidden and exposes areas where healing is still needed. Sometimes the greatest impact of a relationship is not what happens during the connection itself, but who a person becomes because of it. Through love, people often develop greater empathy. They begin to understand emotions more deeply, both their own and those of others. They learn patience, compassion, and emotional awareness. They gain a clearer understanding of what healthy connection looks like and what it requires. Even difficult moments can contribute to this growth. Challenges, misunderstandings, and emotional struggles often become opportunities for self-discovery. They reveal how a person responds to fear, uncertainty, and vulnerability. While these experiences may be uncomfortable, they frequently lead to greater wisdom and maturity over time. God often works through relationships to prepare people for future chapters of their lives. A connection may teach lessons that become valuable years later. It may help someone break free from unhealthy patterns, develop healthier ways of relating to others, or discover qualities within themselves they never knew existed. The influence of authentic love can continue shaping decisions, perspectives, and relationships long after the initial experience has passed. This is why the purpose of a meaningful connection should never be measured solely by its duration. Some relationships last a lifetime, while others last only a season. Yet both can carry tremendous significance. The true value often lies in the transformation they inspire. Authentic love leaves a mark on the soul. It expands the heart's capacity to understand, to trust, and to grow. Whether a relationship becomes a permanent part of someone's life or simply a chapter in their journey, its purpose may be far greater than anyone realizes in the moment. Sometimes the greatest gift a connection provides is not merely the experience of being loved, but the experience of becoming someone more capable of giving and receiving love in the future.